Hey, this is Shane Servos with The Real Estate Route. It's a blog that I've been doing for the past about year and a half, and I decided to turn it into video form. So I'll be bringing weekly videos with updates of the real estate market and different intricacies that you'll find in a real estate transaction. So I look forward to bringing on guests and hosts that all have a piece in the transaction process. Whether you're buying a home, selling a home, looking to invest, doesn't matter. I want to bring information to you. And to start today, I don't have a guest, but I do want to go over what I've been seeing recently in the real estate market, where we've been the past few years, and where I see us going in the future. So, as a lot of you might know, I'm a real estate broker with Team Kelly Lang of RE/MAX Gateway. And we're in Anacortes, Washington. We serve Skagit County, we serve Island County, and we'll even go up to Bellingham and down into Snohomish County as well. So every real estate market is different, and that's something that I want everybody to know, because for this localized market, which is what I'll primarily focus on, it can be a lot different than going up to Blaine, close to the border, even into Bellingham. You go down to I-5, you hit Marysville and Everett and into Seattle, and you're only 30 minutes away, but the real estate market can be a lot different. So that's something I want you to keep in mind. It's a very localized industry, so you need to pay attention to where you live and where you're wanting to sell potentially, or where you're looking and potentially wanting to buy. So keep that in mind as I go through these different stats and different numbers. To start, how do we get here today in our current market? Because everybody knows housing affordability is at an all-time high right now. And what I mean by that is it has never been more expensive to buy a home. That doesn't mean that it's still the wrong decision. I truly believe that real estate is the best wealth building tool that somebody can use to set themselves up and their family up in the future. That being said, in 2020 and 2021, interest rates hit pretty much an all-time record low. They were down into the 2% to 3% range. I want to share a chart with you guys. It's 76% of U.S. mortgage borrowers have an interest rate at or under 5%. And interest rates currently right now are in the 7% range, and they've been trending down and creeping into the 6.5% range. We've been seeing that for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons being is the Fed is projecting an interest rate cut, 25 basis points here in September, which is just around the corner. So usually the market will front run the expectation of the Fed. So if we have a 25 basis point cut coming, projected, that's why we've seen interest rates take that drop, and they've dipped from 7 into the mid sixes. However, we might see them start to bounce back up depending on whatever the Fed does and makes a decision on in September. If they choose to pause and not cut, we can expect to see interest rates climb back up because the market had projected an interest rate cut. However, if they do cut by 25 basis points or even 50 basis points, we could see the interest rates actually continue to decrease. So one of the things that I would recommend keeping an eye on is, number one, inflation, and number two, what the Fed is saying regarding interest rate cuts, pauses, and I think we're done seeing interest rate hikes. So one thing we've seen since 2021 is the fastest interest rate hike in 40 years. So it went from 3% all the way up into the high 7% range. That immediately put a halt on transactions in the real estate market. So what we've seen recently is a heavy decrease in new inventory hitting the market. And the reason for that is something called the lock-in effect. The lock-in effect is essentially where homeowners who purchased or owned in the 2021 timeframe either locked in with their purchase a very low 3% interest rate or in that range. So new homeowners saw an interest rate of 3% and locked that in, while owners of homes that have been there for a long time decided to refinance and lock in a 3% rate. And that significantly decreases your mortgage payment on a monthly basis. So when interest rates spike to 7% and even higher, then what you notice is the payment is almost double for those homeowners if they're wanting to sell. So you're seeing a lot of homeowners that are basically stuck, whether they want to move or not. They're looking around at other houses, and if they need to sell theirs to buy another one, basically for the same exact house, you're looking at a mortgage payment that's double. So that's a big reason we're not seeing new inventory hit the market. As of recent times, I'd say in the past 3 to 4 months, we've actually seen active inventory increase, which is a great thing because inventory is one of the key components to getting prices in a more reasonable range. What I mean by that is you have buyer demand and you have active inventory, sellers. So if there's strong demand and low inventory, then you're going to see prices continue to push up because you have a bunch of buyers who are competing for a little amount of houses. But as you see inventory creep back up and buyer demand start to tame a little bit because of the cost of everything right now, it's pushing demand down. That's where you start to see price reductions and you start to see the asking prices start to reduce a bit because people need to sell their homes. They might be locked into a low rate, but at the same time, life happens and people have to move. So as we see interest rates continue to creep down, we can expect to see more sellers being willing to put their house on the market and more buyers being able to afford that monthly payment because rates are coming down and potentially prices are starting to slow and in some ways even stall. We are seeing a lot of price reductions in the market right now, and that's something I want you to keep in mind because as we move towards fall, there's also the seasonality aspect of the housing market. So typically between May, June, and July, that's when the housing market is at its peak. And what I mean by that is people are okay with moving, school is out, the weather's a lot nicer, and that's where you see the most homes generally hit the market because that's when people want to move. That's also when buyers are the most active. So as fall approaches, school starts up again, the weather starts to turn, people don't want to move as much. You see a little bit less inventory because sellers don't want to be moving in basically that time of the year. And if buyer demand stays the same, then you'll start to see prices, it could go either way. With inventory increasing right now and buyer demand staying right where it's at, you should see a little bit more market affordability coming forward. I hope this was helpful. This is the first episode of many to come and with many great guests in the future. So please reach out with questions, comments. Look forward to hearing from you and seeing you soon.